welcome back, everybody. We're back here for another episode of the crazy shenanigans that constitute our Sunday evenings. This week, we're actually going to be getting into a review of a knife. Back to the reason why we started this whole thing. Reviewing knives, not just chatting shit.
I know it's been a while, and we're gonna try it again because we know we can make it happen.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, to kick things off with the pocket dump. Just went simple and little today and was carrying my Spyderco Toad.
Very nice. That's a sweet little thing.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Weird. It's weird.
Oh yeah.
All of those things.
No denying that.
I guess on that note, I'm going to say that I was carrying, if I can get it out of the pouch, my Fox Tur, and I failed at opening that. It happened.
Womp, womp, womp.
Right there, live in front of everybody.
No
and by
excuses.
everybody, I mean Zix. What's going on there? But yeah, Fox Tur, L-Max, carbon fiber, titanium, is good.
I'm carrying, newly acquired from Paul, actually. It's the 710 McHenry. Yeah. Me and Paul had an arrangement. He's been storing this one, for lack of a better term, for the last year or so in his place. But yeah, I think it was time to end up with me, and I've been happy with it so far. It's a big knife. Holy, I
It's
forgot
a
how
lot
big
of
it was. So,
Isn't it wonderful?
like, it's buck 110 large. It's,
4-inch blade on that thing?
what's that?
4-inch blade?
It's got to be close to. Like, it's rocking same length as the Contigo. Like, I
Okay.
forgot how big this beast is. Yeah.
It's a substantial piece for sure.
That's it.
Carrying something kind of weird today. It's been in my back pocket for a little while. Known as the jeans knife. It is very much like the Cold Steel Paradox. It's basically a butterfly knife with springs. It keeps it from opening or closing inadvertently. It's got rust-free steel. For those of you curious, it sharpens like a Swiss Army knife. But I love this thing. I love the design. It's so strange, but it needed to happen.
It looks like a Swiss Army knife. It sharpens like a Swiss Army knife. I'm pretty sure it's a Swiss Army knife.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have no idea what company made that. I just know where it was made and when, but yeah. No maker's mark. Super weird.
Indeed.
It's a secret. It's a secret.
Nobody can know. And as I alluded to there, Zinx is joining us in chat. So what are you carrying tonight, brother? Sorry, I just had to interject real quick with that.
It's all good.
Okay.
Also,
Stand
Ahsoka is
back.
joining us in chat. What's going on, dude?
Cool.
Apparently, we are the Pokey folks, which I appreciate
Yeah.
more than I can even begin to describe. It's-
And before we get into
Go ahead.
the content, I'm going to remind everyone to make sure to like and subscribe, or else you are going to be cursed to have your shoelaces come untied at the most inconvenient times. Like and subscribe.
That's a threat. You're being
He's been used to
blackmailed.
I had 2-3 weeks ago, I had a 50-pound pack on the back of my back, and my shoelace came untied. And I might know who's actually responsible for all of that happening now. I'm just saying.
It's your fault for
Just
not.
saying.
Yourself.
It's your fault for not liking and subscribing.
Yeah.
It's voodoo.
I delayed on one episode. I missed a Sunday episode. I was on the side of a mountain, okay? I didn't realize it until Tuesday.
Yeah.
Should have known that.
Good shit.
Zinx is saying he's carrying the Benchmade Griptilian 551 1701, which is the carbon fiber grip with brass spacers, which is that the same one that you have, Dennis, or is it a different one of the similar?
I want to say.
Is that a 551?
Yeah, it certainly is.
There you go.
It's a sweet knife. I've never disassembled that knife.
Nice.
It came in rock solid. I've resharpened it, but it came in rock solid, and you don't mess with a good thing when Benchmade comes in rock solid. If you can just clean and maintain that with Q-tips and oil, you do what you can, for sure.
Just leave it alone. Don't look at it too closely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Based off of Zink's reaction in chat, I'm assuming that it probably is the same knife.
Yeah. That opened my eyes to Griptilians.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The Griptilian opened my eyes to the Griptilian, if I'm being honest.
Surprise.
Thanks. Don't know whether to make heads or tails of that, but
I'm glad that the Recon Tanto didn't open his eyes to the Griptilian, because that would just be weird, right? Like,
this is great. But do you know what would be better? This completely different knife.
But wouldn't that be so on brand for me?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, how about we fill this dark void with something bright and colorful?
Indeed.
Oh my.
I'm still waiting for Mr. Fisk to have an aneurysm because of it.
Because we're all stacked on the one side. Yeah.
We're all stacked, yeah.
Yeah, so for anyone watching this, it's recorded, or if you're curious, live in chat right now, we are trying a new format for actually continuing to do socially distanced knife reviews. So bear with us. There may be, I don't think there should be any technical issues. I think we've got it pretty well streamlined, but this is definitely a new setup.
Indeed.
So who wants to bite that bullet and go first while I figure out how to make it happen?
I guess we should all. I'll go. I'll do it. I'll do the thing. I guess I should probably start doing the thing.
Yeah.
So I guess we should probably announce. I mean, if the thumbnail wasn't a good enough indication, we are reviewing the Spyderco Swayback.
You could throw up a picture of that, Joe. Just
There we go.
the Swayback. Yeah.
Because it's pretty.
So we all have got a chance to handle it on multiple occasions, and this past week we seriously sat down and graded it throughout the week when we got to handle it. And we did some grading. We did some grading.
Handling.
Handling, some grading, and then some handling.
We thought about it.
Yeah, and on that note, I actually gave it a score of an 82, which is a B+.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically for materials, like cost of materials, lockup and actuation, I gave it 8s. Fit and finish versus cost, and cutting ability, I gave 9s. Ergonomic, why can't I speak?
I don't know.
I don't know, but it's humorous. It really is.
Ergonomic execution, I gave a 7, because if there's one thing that I've heard from multiple different reviews, is people complaining about how to get their hand on it, which they're wrong about, but objectively, I can't say that they're wrong, right? On the personal side of things, I gave it 8s, 9s, and 7s across the board. Material choice and enthusiasm got a 9 because titanium and HP.
You're kind of in love with this model, aren't you?
I wouldn't say like in love. I really enjoy it for a lot of the same reasons that I enjoy the Spyderco Bowie, Sleesh Bowie.
It's like a flirty tease for Paul. You know, not quite love, but yeah. So
yeah, but I mean, I can waste a summer. You know what I mean? Like,
Tell me more.
let me have my fun.
Good shit.
In fact, my enthusiasm when it was first announced was probably a 10. I really liked the way it looked originally. And after having gotten it, I do really like it, but I don't like it as much as I thought I was going to when I first saw it, if that makes sense. And ultimately, that really comes down to, if you want to show that picture again there, Joe.
Sure.
Comes down to the pocket clip choice. That knife is so well put together. And then they just threw a standard Spyderco spoon clip on it. And they could have done a plethora of different things. They could have, at the very least, taken that same clip and treated it in such a way that it had a similar finish. And I would have been happy.
MSG apparently has a deep carry clip that's stonewashed. I don't know, stonewashed titanium or stonewashed stainless steel, but apparently it matches pretty good.
That's all I
So
need. Perfect. I'm going to get one of those, and then I'm going to get one of those because I liked it. That's somebody else's chance.
Cool.
I'll go next.
Sure. Yeah, do it.
So overall, the objective, I gave the cost of materials as well as the ergonomic execution 7s, which was the low side on the objective was 7s. Honestly, the ergos, I've heard from multiple people, it just kind of sits funny for where it is. I'm not the only one that thinks that it's not the most convenient EDC option out there when it comes to ergonomics. But on the flip side of that, cost versus fit and finish and cutting ability both got 9s. Because as far as a well executed knife, I can't argue for what it is. It's slicey, it's dicey, it's made with all the right stuff. The titanium is beautifully rounded, like the Sleesh buoy. Objectively, it took a little bit of a hit, but not much. The low end was actually the ergonomic preference. I know I scored it low in the objective side with a 7, but I actually gave it a 6 on my personal side because I dislike it even more. I really wanted this knife to be ballet-sized gentleman carry, and they tried to military it, police model it into one of the big boy categories, and I don't think it belongs there. So, on the high end for the personal side was material choice and pocket ergos. I'm not going to spoil it for Nigel, but me and him both had kind of the same reaction when it came to in the pocket. So, overall, I don't think I mentioned what it was. 78 B, good solid B. But I think I was actually maybe the low end this week. I'm not sure.
It's funny, our objective score is 1 point different.
I'm fully aware of that. The only thing we chose different was kind of our cost versus materials, I think. You gave an 8.
And I was going back and forth between a 7 and an 8, so that's hilarious.
Yeah. On the objective side, I noticed that as you were saying it, I kind of smirked to myself, and me and you were kind of bang on without talking at all this week before recording. Right? So, someone else.
I'll hop in next. So I ended up giving it an 80, so also gave it a B. Objectively, cutting a bit 9, because, that thing is slicey. It's got such a nice hollow grind. Nice hollow grind on it. Low score for the objective was lockup and actuation. Locks up beautifully, but as far as the deployment, it's really nice for a lefty trying to Spidey flick it. It's nice for a right-handed person if you've got small enough thumbs to get into the cutout for the hole, but because they only cut it out on the one side, it kind of limits your options for the deployment. So that's why I gave it the 7. Personal side, pocket ergos gave it the 9, just like Dennis, because big hands. It's hard to get in and out of pockets when there's a knife in there, and I barely noticed that thing in my pocket. And that was nice. It was surprising for how chunky it is.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Low score was a 7 for enthusiasm, because, it's a cool knife. I was kind of interested in it. The enthusiasm bumped up a little bit when I heard it was going to be bigger, because, it's big hands is bigger. It's nice. But once seeing it and getting it in hand and stuff, it's just, yeah, it's too big. I agree with Dennis. It should be into that valet sort of size. Would have been a lot more appealing, I think.
I'm gonna
My
throw up that
opinion-
picture that Dennis took of all the knives together.
No. Save that. I've
late.
got points to make on that one. Yeah.
We will revisit
Save
that,
that
photo,
picture.
folks.
I'm going to rant in a while here.
All
I'm
right.
just going to point out again quickly, Nigel, again, within a point of both of us.
Mhm.
It's crazy that we didn't talk about this at all, and we're all like, the points are distributed slightly different, but we're all right there.
I think we're all on the same page, and I'll prove
Yeah.
that point if Nigel's done.
Yep.
Awesome.
One last thing before you continue there, Joe.
Yeah.
If we do have viewer comments, things like that, Paul, make sure to interject if need
Oh, yeah,
be.
we haven't yet, so
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
it's pretty quiet so far tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Right off the hop here, as I'm saying it. The main reason Ahsoka Edge avoided the swayback was because it was well over 3 inches long. Would have been harder to resist if it had been sub 3, which if they made a smaller version of it, I would have liked that knife too, but I think I would have liked both. I like a swayback from Pena. That size is awesome.
Fair enough.
It's coming. They like to use the words "lil" a lot, so little swayback might be a thing. Yeah.
No,
Anyway,
Then I
Joe.
can have both.
Way a little back.
I think I'd find that pretty hard to resist, to be honest. For myself, yeah, pretty much right in with you guys for the most part. I gave it a B, a 78. Cost materials.
Me and you tied on that. Okay.
Yeah. Cost materials, ergonomic execution, and lockup and actuation, those all got 8s. Cost, fit, and finish, cutting ability, those both got 9. You guys talked about why pretty concisely. I agree. On the personal side of things, 8s for material choice, aesthetics, and pocket ergonomics. It's just excellent. Ergonomic preference, I actually gave it a 6. Because I feel that knife needs to be held. Here's a sort of a swayback handle to kind of illustrate this point. It needs to be held like this to be comfortable. And yeah, my enthusiasm is a 6, mostly because I just can't get over how it feels in a forward grip, and that's how I tend to use my knives most of the time, either that or pinch grip. But on the whole, great knife. I do like it quite a bit. And if they did come out with a small, I'm probably gonna buy it, especially if it's within that. Like if it's the same size overall as this thing, it's gonna be hard for me to say no.
My enthusiasm wanted to be a 9 for sure, but then played with it and it did drop down to a 7 as soon as I got it in hand and played with it a little bit. And I did say a couple times that it's just they're trying to make a swayback handle into an EDC platform. And unless it's a gentlemanly carry type of thing, I don't think the swayback handle fits into a hard use platform. Well, not saying that it's a hard use platform, but a larger platform, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm actually going to throw up a picture here quick. Actually, I don't know if you guys would be able to even see this, but
While you
Right,
do that,
Paul.
I'm just going to give a quick shout out to Ben. What's going on, brother? He's carrying his Best Tech Grampus.
nice.
Yeah.
And the thing that I was going to say about the swayback, which if you have hands my sized, which contrary to your popular belief, I do actually wear a large size glove. Fuck you all.
I'll see it when I believe it.
Sure thing, Carney.
I'm carrying this knife this week for no reason.
Compensation. Anyway.
Oh, dude.
So I had a point to make. The point that I was going to make was that with the swayback, because the handle is longer, because that overall knife is so large, the swell for the swayback actually comes far enough back on my hand that it doesn't impede my ability to hold the handle. So as long as I'm grabbing it like this, I'm perfectly fine to get up on that knife and have no issue.
Gotta get skinny carny hands to not feel the bend at the end.
I'm gonna cut you so bad.
So I'm just gonna go back to making my point here before you guys end up stabbing each other through the internet. There's a section.
I don't think Paul can unsubscribe to his own channel.
You'd be shocked.
Sure, I can. Give me 1 second.
Challenge accepted.
Give me 1 second.
So on the swayback, there's this little part at the base of the blade that mimics the kick here, and you guys on YouTube land will be able to see what I'm talking about. My thumb is planted on it like that. In this grip, which seems to be, following the line of that stock, it's actually extremely comfortable. But that pocket clip sucks. It's horrible. It gets in the way. It's very uncomfortable. Thoughts, concerns, comments?
I agree with you. It's very comfortable in that position.
Of my own. And yes, it is more comfortable in this position. But again, with that gentlemanly shape and small enough as it may be, if you get like a pinch grip or a forward grip, like something like that, where the back end is just kind of like hovering back there.
Right.
Again, it's not bad. But you can't really do that with the Spyderco Swayback. It's too long. It's too much of a knife to get into that kind of like pinch grippy, I'm just going to cut this tape kind of motion. It wants to be a crooked river, and it should be a GEC.
It wants to be a crooked river, but it weighs nothing.
Comparatively speaking, yeah,
it's. I mean, the blade shape's different, but you can tell why I like it.
Yeah, similar sizes. I've heard some commentary from other reviewers recently that they're of the opinion that the wire clip would have been not necessarily any better of an option because you would have to deal with two little hotspots. I don't know that I agree with that. I think the wire clip is unobtrusive enough that had they done what they did with I'm pretty sure the Techno did that as well. But the Slish Buoy, at the very least, the more recent iteration, wire clips. The fact that they deviated from the wire clip to a spoon is such a weird choice for me. Like,
the wire clip is so good. Like, it's so good.
The Spidey Chef had it. Why?
Yeah, I don't own the Spidey Chef, but it didn't appeal to me. So
no,
it's a weird knife.
Yeah, I know some people swear by that thing, but
if the Spidey Chef had a rounded like the Swayback or like the Slish Buoy, if it had a rounded titanium on the Spidey Chef, I'd own it. The flat slabs is kind of what kills it for me. Makes it a little boring, right?
Part of the reason why I like the Swayback so much is because of those gentle curves that it's got. It just, and the velvety texture, it's so good.
Well, I mean, it's kind of interesting. Like,
just joined us. What's going on, Justin? What are you carrying tonight? Right, this. I guess I shouldn't have played that last round of ranked with my group. No, rude.
Forget it.
Man, priorities.
Did you at least win? Because if you didn't win,
then we're all disappointed in you and your team.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Had to throw in a Z snap there at the end just because.
So, I mean,
you should be ashamed of yourself.
Normally, we'd have.
Can I resubscribe? Here, hold on a sec. I'm just gonna. There we go. I resubscribed.
There you go. We normally have like pretty intense areas of disagreement for some knives. It's kind of funny that we're all landing on the exact same page for the most part. But
so lockup and actuation. Nigel gave it a 7, I believe, and the rest of us gave it 8s.
I think so.
I actually was on the fence on what to give it on that because my big issue was the actuation itself. you dabbled on the limited ability to open it because of the cutouts and things like that. And for me, it was more so, and this is where the picture of all four of them, if not at least the Sleech buoy as well, comes into play.
I'll
Is
pop
if
them
you
up.
look at this picture, what you can actually see is I took this picture intentionally, as well as the pocket clip factor, because it's bullshit that it doesn't have a wire clip. But also, you can see the lock bar side of all of these nuts.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to actual opening, you can see that there is plenty of space for you to put your finger, put your thumb to get that Spidey flick as a lefty or on the back. You're not pinching the lock, as it were. If you look at the Swayback, within the third time I tried to deploy it, probably, I actually did pin the frame lock closed and they did a beautiful job of chamfering the hole so your finger slides right the fuck off of that hole as soon as you try to flick it, because you're pinning the lock, right? So I don't know. Every other Sleech buoy or Marcin Sleech design
Where is it?
has given you plenty of purchase to be able to lefty righty not worry about a frame lock being a factor on flicking it open, right? And that was actually the killer for me. It really was. As soon as I did it within the first 3 times, and the size was probably actually the number 2 killer, but the number 1 was just the fact that as a lefty, one of my small enjoyments is being able to Spidey flick the technos and the Sleech buoys with my finger, where most people have to do a thumb hole opening, right? Like, there's an inner enjoyment to that.
You can't do it.
And people, I have seen them like finger thumb stud the hole through the other side with the Marcin Sleech designs, but there is just something exclusive that we get ignored so much. It's kind of nice.
Well, and that's kind of.
And yeah, like,
oh, sorry, Nigel, go for it.
even trying to open it as a right-handed person, because of the size of my thumb, I can't even get my thumb into the cutout it has to get into the hole to open it. Like, yeah, it doesn't work for me for the size of it. Like, for how big the knife is overall, that is such a tiny access point.
It is pretty restricted.
I'm going to leave that one alone. I just want to quickly touch on the lock bar and the size of it. And I completely agree with you that because of the size of it compared to the other knives in that lineup, that you're more likely to pinch that bar. But when I look at the photos that Joe has up right now of that lock bar and where that lock bar runs right down the center of that knife, artistically, it looks really nice there. Like, it's a good spot for it.
This is
Like,
true.
I mean, it's not unlike a Sabenza. The way that lock bar line tends to go right through the center. But there's also the concern of pinching the lock bar while you're trying to flick the knife and adding to the detent, right? That was actually one thing I liked about the earlier models.
I own DTs, I know all about that.
Exactly. And it's not as bad with the Spyderco, don't get me wrong, but I mean, the Sleech buoy, it was like the access bar was maybe like a third. And I'm just trying to highlight that here in the photo. It's about a third the distance here.
There is a picture specifically with the Sleech buoy as well as the
Yeah, I've got the
Swayback.
here.
I did take a picture of the two of them because that's the extreme opposites.
Right.
The Techno is a chunky monkey, so
yeah, it sure is. But it's just one of those things where, like, I mean, artistically, I agree with you, but as far as the utilitarian nature of it,
100%.
That actually defines both Paul and myself opinion on knives very, very well. Like, one of my top picks for last year. And what is the knife that you're kind of obsessed with right now?
yeah. I mean,
what is the knife? Oh, yeah.
Your GTC. Like, you've been carrying that thing a lot.
Oh, you're talking about
just
his.
Like, kind of giddy about it for the last month or so.
Yeah. And I mean, this is
when
art.
Paul talks about the like artistic side
Right.
of things
Makes sense.
compared to the practical side of things.
Because
I'm like, both of the knives that we're blown away with kind of describe.
so
But we
that
both have stuff
outlook.
like this in our collection. You still have a pleroma. And I would put these two in the same
Sorry.
kind of category for that. I probably have more of things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sculpture.
Yeah.
That is a woman's body lying down.
Leave my knife alone, Paul.
No.
I'm not going to start carrying it when I have to work with you now. It's
that's
creepy.
probably for the best.
Indeed. Do we have other points? Do we have other things we want to say?
Pocket ergos. One of my number one concerns when I saw it, and yes, it's not a wire clip, but it is the spoon clip, and I'm not a fan of the spoon clip. But when I put it in my pocket, I thought it was going to sit a lot higher than it does.
Mm-hmm.
And when I put it in my pocket, it didn't actually feel like it stuck out and obtruded, kind of like the smock does, or like some of the other whatever, like Kershaw, or what, like the leak and the blur that we were all like, just like, wow, that's a lot of knife sticking out of your pocket type thing, right? Like it's so. I will give it credit on that. Is it's deceiving on how low down and still not noticeable it sits for not being a deep carry clip.
Right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I gotta say, there is something to be said for a clip like this, where when you reach into your pocket to grab your knife, you've got positive grab. You know that every time you need to pull that knife out, it's gonna come out. Maybe something more useful on a PM2 rather than the Swayback in this case. But there is something to be said about getting a positive grip.
Sure there is.
And I'm just gonna leave it there.
Before we go too much further, I do want to say that it's not the fact that they put, and I know I'm harping on the clip, but it was just such a mistake. It's not the fact that they put a spoon clip on it. It's that they put this spoon clip on it. I think I've shown you guys this in person before, and now you're all seeing it in YouTube, but the Gale Bradley is one of my favorite Spydercos, the GB2, I should say. And the pocket clip is so low in comparison to the pocket clip they've been using on things like the Smock.
Mhm.
Like, just for a super quick side-by-side.
It's noticeable. It's obviously noticeable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a 30% increase in height. It feels like a 30% increase. And it shouldn't matter that much, but thanks. But it's totally derail. But it again, feels great in that weird sort of edge up sort of grip, but in terms of it against your palm, sucks. And I don't know why so many new Spydercos are using this really high clip. I really wish they would go back to the slimmer one they had before.
Yeah. That's probably the number one reason why I haven't picked up a Smock, is because I have to get an MXG clip to go with it. It's going to be an extra $20 or $30 just because if I want to carry that knife.
Right.
Which is the end of the world. And
$30 you'll never get back.
Couldn't possibly. Awful. Apparently Justin's doing Uncle Randy impressions tonight.
Excellent.
Sabenza, do you mean bad Buck 110 imitation?
Hey man, I'm carrying a McHenry tonight. Leave Uncle Randy alone.
That's a bad one, Buck 110 impersonation. Actually, the Broken Skull's it's a better one, but
So
As far as a long, overextended, more than you need knife, though.
apparently Justin last week was taking off the boxing gloves and going bare knuckle and kind of throwing some shade here and there and stuff. And apparently it's coming back.
Okay, the thing is, though, he doesn't own a bare knuckle. He's not allowed to do that. Buy a bare knuckle, and then you're allowed to go bare knuckle.
boo.
Hey, you just leave shit alone, all right?
Don't you threaten me with your techno too.
Dragonizer here in chat saying he doesn't like the Swayback because of the limited opening options in the real ugly clip. Yeah, well, that's basically what we've been saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Overall, though, I'd
I
say.
think that's pretty much
Welcome on
why.
board.
Well, we all started there.
And then you heard it here first, folks. Joe says the Broken Skull is better than a Sabenza.
No, that's not. No, I'm not even touching that.
Oh, they're pretty great.
There might be some truth to it. No, there isn't. But I do think that the Swayback is one of those knives that you really should get in hand to decide if you like it or not. And you kind of have to be right-handed, I think, to really enjoy opening it. It's
But the flick.
Oh, when you flick it positively and it's your thumb's not on the lock bar, it is quite a nice knife to kind of like snap open for sure. But yeah, there's limitations.
yeah.
The thing that I found really interesting, I watched Nick Shabazz do a disassembly of the knife. And the knife actually has 2 stop pins, one on each side of the blade. And they both interface with different half moon cuts on the inside of the handle. And it's a really, really weird thing. But it seems to work pretty dang well.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the logic behind setting it up that way, but it was interesting to see something a little bit different, for sure.
That's it.
You're putting stress on 2 points distributing instead of just one, right? Like that's realistically, that's probably why
But you're only engaging one at a time.
Yeah, like let me see if I can find an example to show off. Yeah, like on this Tucson here, the stud.
So it's acting as a stop pin. It's an internal stop pin in the down position as well.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yeah, so at any one point, it's actually, I think it's actuating on both pins, but they're installed separately. Whereas this is one pin installed,
and they're opposite
together
from each other.
Yeah. So this is the standard setup. The Swayback has like one setup here relative, and then one setup here relative, and then the cuts are made on opposite scales. It's really weird. I haven't seen that done on a knife before, and again, I'm just a little.
But cool as fuck.
Oh yeah.
It's something you don't see every day.
The only thing I could think of offhand that might be a bit of an advantage is keeping gunk out, because there's not as big of a channel in that location anymore. That's the only thing I could that really. Yeah.
It does keep it tucked away. You don't see it the way you see it on your Tucson, or what's that other one that you have? The little stiletto thing. It's all titanium. Because you can really see the channel on both of those.
The Vokey.
Where your stop pins are running.
Yeah.
Cool scar, bro.
Yeah. Is there? Oh, there is a scar on that finger too. Shit. Okay.
Apparently, tonight. If it's got 2 stop pins, then does the lock become a third point of contact? So it's a triad lock.
Nice.
You're gonna get Spyderco sued, man.
Lynn Thompson has entered the chat. Yeah. No, I don't think so.
That part comes later.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Second video. We'll get there.
Indeed.
On that note,
Indeed.
we are looking at.
It's probably time for a break. It is 8 o'clock, so.
Yeah, break time then, everybody.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Come back to some NAFEDs.
For sure. So yeah, we'll be back shortly here with everyone in YouTube land. Go refill your drinks and get ready for some fights.
We don't need